So today I'm going to show you a little tour of SnapSeed. So when you open the app, you'll see this screen. You can tap anywhere to open a photo, and you'll see some of your recent photos there, but you can also click open from device. And the picture I'm opening is in my favorites right now. So once you click on the picture you want to use, you press use, and we can get started. So this looks panel, I typically don't use this very much, but you can save different edits, or SnapSeed has a few kind of pre-made edits that you can do. I usually go to the tools panel. You'll see all these different tools you can use, and I'll highlight just a few of them today. So the details panel is great. You can edit structure and sharpening. So you can scroll up and down to kind of switch between what you're editing, and then once you select, so I'll select structure first, you can move your finger left to right to actually edit either adding structure or taking structure away. So moving your finger to the right adds structure, moving your finger to the left takes it away. So I'm going to add a little bit, and then I'm also going to switch back to sharpening, add a little sharpening as well. So next on the tools panel, I like to go to tune image. So this is where you'll find a lot of your basic edits: brightness, contrast, saturation, ambiance, highlights, shadows, and warmth. So I'll start with brightness, swipe to the right. Same with contrast, saturation, ambiance. Now ambiance is kind of a specific feature to SnapSeed, and it just really, I think, plays with the highlights and the shadows so that the shadows get brighter and the highlights, come in a little bit also. But here you can also edit highlights and shadows separately. I like to lift the shadows a lot. And then warmth you can edit here, but I'll show you white balance in a second. So once you're good with that, you press the check mark. And then I also like to go to white balance. So here you'll see temperature and tint. Temperature goes from blue to yellow, and then tint goes from green to purple. So this is where you'll kind of figure out your white balance and make any adjustments that you need to for the photo. And then you have some other basic tools here. The crop tool is great. Rotate if you need to rotate your image. Perspective can kind of tweak the perspective if it's off. And then one of my favorites is Grainy Film. I'll always use that. So I click on Grainy Film, and this is actually my favorite one, A1. But there's, you can click through all the options and figure out the one that works best for your photo. I'm going to go back to A1. And it automatically adds some grain to it, so you can bring that down a little bit, or if you want it super grainy, you can add grain. And then if you go to style strength, you can actually bring down the intensity of that style. And then if you hold down the picture, you can kind of preview your edits. So I think that looks pretty good. And then if you go to tools one more time, I also love using the Selective Tool. What you can do is add points to the photo, and you kind of drag your fingers outward or inward to make the point bigger or smaller. And the red is highlighting the area that you're going to make changes to. So I kind of want to tweak this sand. I am going to drag this point until most of it's red. And then again, you can kind of go up and down to adjust brightness, contrast, saturation, or structure. So I'm going to go to brightness, swipe my finger to the right to brighten the sand a little, then go down to saturation, and I'm going to bring down the saturation. Bring down the saturation a tiny bit. So once I'm done with those, I can click the check mark again to apply those edits, and then, like I said, hold down your finger to see the original and lift it back up to see the edited version. Now, if you go to tools, you can go to brush, and that's similar to the selective edit, but you can choose what you want to do, and then actually brush your finger to see the edit. So I'll just show you saturation. If we brush the sky, it will get a lot more blue and saturated. I'm just brushing my finger over this area to get that effect, and then if you click the little eyeball, you can actually see where you brushed. And I don't actually want to make this change because I think that looks a little too intense, so I'll click the X. And then there's a few other fun tools, but I don't typically use those. The ones I showed you are kind of my go-to, except I also love the healing tool. This photo doesn't really need it, but if you wanted to take out a blemish or, you know, something in the sky, whatever, you can zoom in and then just brush your finger over whatever you want to remove, and SnapSeed will kind of pick the background around it to cover it up. There, I just removed that cloud. Again, I'll press the X because I don't actually want to make that change. And the other great thing about SnapSeed is if you click this little layers panel in the top right, you can view all your edits that you've made. So you can always go back and adjust anything. If you want to go back to tune image, and let's edit that again. Well, this you can actually brush the areas you want to apply it to, but if you click this little thing, you can actually adjust it again. So maybe this is a little too saturated, or I want to go back and make the shadows brighter. You can make those adjustments and then go, you know, back to your edited pic. And then you can always revert to original as well. And once you're done, it's really easy to export. You can either share automatically in, you know, messaging or whatever app. You can save, which actually saves right on top of the photo, kind of replaces the original version of the photo. So I use that a lot to keep my photo library a little more organized. And once you save, you are done. And that's a tour of SnapSeed.